What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined by one of my favorite guests, Steven Nelson, Dodgers play-by-play guy and SportsCenter anchor.
Yeah, that's a thing now. Again, I don't the Dodgers and ESPN. There's some screws loose in the hiring department, Jeff. There's some screws loose there. But
Last year, 2023 was the year of Steven Nelson. I think it was just
oh God.
everything was coming up roses for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why it was a shitty. Oh, but that's why it was a bad year for everybody else. Then, no, it was 100. It all, like, jokes aside, it was like a mind-boggling year. I think last time we talked, it was just the mindset of trying to, earn the blessings every day, right? We were blessed with another child who's 8 months today, and not one but two, you know, bucket list dream jobs. So it's been dizzying in the best ways. So, like I said, just still trying to earn it, and until the hiring departments realize the error in judgment and and rectify their mistakes.
Well, let's talk some Dodgers. Dodger season, of course, coming up. You just got back from spring training. As we sit here today, the biggest storyline, of course, is Mookie Betts, the shortstop. From your perspective, kind of take this wherever you want to take it. Mookie at short, Gavin Lux at second base. But give me your thoughts overall in this situation.
Well, first, before we got rolling, you mentioned that I look like Darth Vader. I guess I'm subconsciously really embracing this Dodgers evil empire
There
thing
you go.
with the look here. Okay, so I'm trying to be more glass half full in life
Okay.
these days. So I've been looking at it through the lens of, wow, Mookie Betts again. Like, he's just all world, stupid good at everything that he does, and it speaks to his talent, his ability, his wiring, and obviously his athleticism, that the Dodgers feel confident enough to go snap a finger like that, and it's instead of everyday second baseman, now you're our shortstop permanently for now, which I loved. A permanent for now.
Yeah.
And so I look, I think, and a part of this is sort of a byproduct. If you follow me here, like, I think it's a byproduct of the Dodgers kind of off season and lead up to 2024 as well, because it was the only team in baseball that did anything worth a damn this off season. And not only did they do something, they did everything. It was their 1A game plan executed to a T.
Yeah.
Right. So everything that they wanted to go right did go right. And so you come into camp and you're looking around and you're like, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Things look really good. There's not a whole lot to talk about. You can only do so much coverage of the coverage of Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right?
Yeah.
If you're somebody on the beat, if you're covering this team, if you work for the team, there's only so much of that to go around. And so what are we going to talk about? Gavin Lux's return to baseball was going to be a topic of conversation anyway. And because things were going so great in every other way for the Dodgers, I think that the issues that Luxie's had in the field to start these spring games are magnified even more.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's sort of a part of this whole deal. So I'm going to lean on, this is another example of Mookie's excellence and why he is one of the greatest athletes in the world, not just within Major League Baseball. And then the last thing I'll say on Lux is, I remember doing one of the off-season shows on SportsNet LA with, I think it was DV and Jerry, I think. And we were talking about Gavin and just his excitement level to get back on the field, everybody else's excitement level to see him back on the field. But I said, look, if you talk to a pro athlete who goes through not just a a minor knee operation, which I think a torn ACL can now be described as these days because of how routine it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that. This was a leg reconstruction.
Mm.
So, and it's not year one where you're looking at him. The athletes will say, check back on me in year two, physically and mentally. And we are barely a year removed from this injury happening. So I want to give Gavin Lux or anybody who goes through something like this physically and mentally, not just the benefit of the doubt, but some wiggle room and some time. I think that's only fair to expect him to come back from this right off the hop and become this, defensive wizard in addition to offensive spark plug. I just think was unrealistic. So I think it's just like a little reset for him. And hey, take a breath and give him some time. I mean, how many spring games has he even played at this point? So that's kind of where I'm at. But I get where the noise is coming from and why it's coming. So
Yeah.
I think it's fair all around.
It's such a fascinating situation because I think your point about coming back from knee surgery, needing time, all that is a fair one. And
Yeah.
yet you're staring at a Dodgers roster and it's not constructed to give him that time. Like it's not
Yep.
constructed to
Yep.
say, hey, we're going to ease you in. It's kind of like you're the starting shortstop. No, now you're the starting second baseman. And there are other guys that could play there, but I think it would be clearly a massive step backward if he's not the starting something for the Dodgers. And so
Sure.
I'll be curious to see how this plays out for him defensively. Offense, the thing about Gavin is like none of us are worried about his ability to hit the ball. It's just a
Right.
matter of whether or not he can
Right.
kind of get his body right from a throwing perspective.
Yeah, and I think Gavin would even be the first to admit to you, like, one, would rather not make these mistakes, but two, like the concept of him trying to elevate his game and get better defensively is not a new one, right? Even
Yeah.
going back to pre-injury. So you combine that with him just trying to get his legs back underneath him, literally and metaphorically. Um, I just think that this is. I also think it's something that I would rather happen now in
Yeah.
spring than they show up to Seoul or come back for the domestic opening day against St. Louis, and then it's whoa, now we're making this decision. It was done uh, as early as I guess you
Yeah.
could, definitely not ideally, but as early as you could in spring. Hey, let's give both these guys some reps and some time to sort of digest what's going to happen here before we're playing meaningful baseball. But I still believe, like, you know, even if the struggles continue um, out the gate, that I just hope that Gavin gives himself some grace.
Yeah.
It's not going to come externally. That much we
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
So I just give himself some grace and patience, because it is a long season. So, if you're struggling in March, April, and May, I mean, nobody's going to care if you put it together in September and October. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my hope for the situation.
Yeah, and especially if the Dodgers win. I mean, if the Dodgers can get off to a good start, then that would probably right a lot of wrongs. Whereas, if it's 2-5 after the first week and Gavin's got a couple errors at second base, it could get magnified.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
want to pick up on you mentioned kind of the 1A offseason that the Dodgers had. I'm curious from your perspective as the guy who's going to be calling some of these games.
It was
Like,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, like, is there an added pressure when a guy of Shohei Ohtani's magnitude signs? I mean, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the international sort of audience that is going to come, and I know international audience may not be listening to the broadcast that you're on. I'm not exactly sure how all that works, but
Right.
I'm just curious for you, like, is there? I'm sure the sense is, wow, that's awesome. I get to be around Shohei Ohtani, who might be the greatest player who ever lived for the next however many years. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm curious, is there an added weight that you feel?
I don't actually. Yeah, there's definitely added something, but it's not pressure or weight. It's added juice. It's added excitement.
Love it.
I think it's just trying to make sure that we as a broadcasting team sort of rise to the moment and the occasion and make sure that we sort of match that energy out the
Yeah.
gate that all the fans around the world are feeling.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to call early games like you can't call every game like it's game 7 of the World Series, right? But just given that this is the most anticipated Dodger season since the franchise's moved to Los Angeles,
Yeah.
you got to bring it. I don't think it's pressure. I think it's just excitement. That's how I feel anyway. I mean, talked a lot with uh, Japanese media over the last few months about it, and they're asking, oh, have you prepared any new home run calls for Shohei, or have you thought
Yeah. Do you
about
want
what
to you want to debut one right here, Steven? We'll break the news. What's the Ohtani home run? Go for it.
No, no, I no, and I've said every single time to every single outlet that asks, I was like, no, I ain't pre-scripting anything. Um, it's got to be organic, and it's got to come from the heart, from the moment. And you know me, we talked about this before. Say it's I hope he and I expect that he will hit his first home runs in Seoul. But if he doesn't, and it's back at Dodger Stadium, that's going to be a moment I'm going to let speak for itself. I ain't
Yeah.
going to say much. I'm going to get out the way and let the ravine take over.
I love it.
So that's how, I mean, we've talked about that before. That's how I approach big moments, and that would certainly be one. So I ain't overthinking it. I'm definitely excited for the season to get going. Like, due respect to the spring training simulcast that I did 1 and 2 innings of last week, but it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm ready for this thing. I'm ready to get going.
I'll ask a little insider question here. As all these new guys come over, Otani
Yeah.
obviously has been around the league. Glasnow's been in the league. Paxton's been in the league, and then you've got Yamamoto coming from abroad. I'm like, at this point, as we sit here today, like, have you done kind of all of your quote unquote research, all of your sort of mining for details and stories on all these guys already, or is that stuff that you've still got a couple weeks to work out?
That's definitely still in progress.
Okay.
I'm spending time in Arizona, try to have a lot of conversations in my, limited days there, trying to be respectful of, guys getting their work in, and, coaches trying to, prep for their jobs too. But that was really pivotal because I didn't have that last year, right? I didn't
Yeah.
start until opening day. So I missed out on spring training when everybody is just more relaxed. It's more fun. Like,
Yeah.
guys, nobody's gone 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts yet. Nobody's lost, 2 or 3 games in a row, and the sky isn't falling yet. Everyone's in a great mood because that's the cliche. Like, in spring, everybody hope springs eternal, and everybody's got a chance, and all those things. So it was really fun to kind of be around the organization when everybody had that sort of a vibe to them,
Yeah.
because then you get some good stuff. But I'm always looking for more, and trying to go a couple layers deeper, get a bit more personal or off the rails,
Yeah.
and bring those stories to the Dodgers fans watching. So that's still very much in progress. Look, yeah, as you know, Jeff, you can only accomplish so many things during the day when you have tiny humans
It's true.
in your face.
It's true.
So, but we're on a good track.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's talk Otani. Um,
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend today. I think Otani might be better than the hype. like I think I've realized it in 3 weeks of spring.
Yeah.
It feels like as great as the hype is around this guy, and I know he's only hitting, he's not even fielding or pitching, but it's
Yeah.
like whatever thought I had about him in my head, as far as clubhouse guy, as far as pure hitter, like it feels like I undersold him on every account.
Yes. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's part of his aura.
Yeah.
And I think that I hope that it doesn't. I think that mystique is going to last too. Um, having spent time around Shohei over the years, even before he came to the Dodgers, I think most impactfully at WBC last year in Tokyo, it was really getting a sense for Shohei's greatest ability. And I've talked about this on broadcast before. I'll talk about it again this year. You could talk about the hit tool. You could talk about the power. You could talk about his approach. You could talk about the arm and the stuff and the mound presence when he's healthy. In my estimation, Shohei's most impressive trait is his ability to manage every moment at his speed, right? What's that sports cliche? Talk about the game speeding up on athletes sometimes. Yeah. That never happens with him. That doesn't mean he's immune to struggles. We've seen that. But he is never over his skis. He is in command of every single moment of his life. And just think about how difficult that is to do when you're basically an Avenger, right? Yeah. You have forfeited a regular life.
Yeah.
And try as he might to have one of those, it's just not possible here, especially back home in Japan. He can't have that.
Yeah.
But that never gets to him. He's sort of like invincible or impervious to outside stress because he's in such command of himself, his routines, his preparation, his work, and his execution. And again, it's just sort of like it leaves you in awe.
Yeah.
You combine that with the fact that he is always aware of the moment in the game and how he wants to put on a show for everybody watching him. Like it's I hate saying unbelievable in sports. I hate it, but it's for him, he's such an outlier that I feel comfortable using it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how the expectations that are placed on him, and seemingly every time he rises to meet him or exceed him. And yeah, I can't believe he's a Dodger.
Well, and it's interesting because you mentioned you've been around him before at the WBC, and you were part of an award ceremony for him, right?
Yeah, that was a 21 World Series in Houston.
Okay.
Yes, then he had the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award. So I presented that to him, and then spent a little bit of time in the league suite afterwards. But been around him at All-Star games for the MLB Network coverage, and stuff like that. Like obviously Jose Mota, and like that's why he was the perfect person to welcome Shohei to FanFest, because their relationship is real and it goes back a number of years. So mine is more sort of just spotty over the years. But
well, the reason I was asking is because you've seen and been around him. What's it like watching other people kind of experience Shohei Ohtani in person for the first time?
That's a great question. It is like I'm trying to think of like an analogy, and there is none that really applies, but it really does kind of transform these grown men, these like hardened, accomplished professionals back into kids, because they just want to see. They just want to have a glimpse of it. I mean, especially that WBC, it was every single international team would come back onto the field or come out onto the field well before their stretching or their pregame work began, and they would just sort of huddle together and watch.
Crazy.
In awe, and they would take pictures and like have their phone like try to sneak one, because again, they're professionals too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this dude is unbelievable.
It's so awesome.
And that's part of his magic and his mystique too. But like, I think the guys in the clubhouse would attest to this too. Is it's never better than or
right.
better than approach from Shohei. He's never condescending toward anybody. It does not matter. I was the last day I was there in Arizona. I was probably the last person in the clubhouse that was talking with Hiro, Yoshinobu Yamamoto's interpreter, and Shohei and Yoshi were cleaning it up or whatever, and there were some minor league guys coming in a little bit later, and Shohei was just as energetic toward them as they were leaving or coming or going as he was to Mookie or Freddie or any of the stars on the major league roster, right? So, and that's important. And that's a part of everything we've talked about the last several years about the Dodgers and their clubhouse culture, right? So so he is seamlessly fit into that mold as well. So again, his combination of otherworldly unicorn ability combined with resolute humility is unparalleled. Part of that's cultural. I mean, if I'm being honest, Japanese culture is just different, and in the best ways compared to our country's culture, a point blank period. So, and he lives that.
I love it. Well, we've talked Mookie, we've talked Ohtani. Being at camp, kind of as the spring is coming to a close, any other insights that you gained from your time down in Arizona, or maybe storylines that you've got sort of heading into the regular season?
I'll try and give you one that's not obvious, and the obvious ones are Shohei and Yamamoto and Mookie at short, and him and Freddie's consistent excellence. James Outman year 2, there is a lot of buzz for James for the second year. The chief among them, Dave Roberts. I remember asking him when I was like, hey, pick a guy. I'm taking the superstars off the table. Pick a guy that you're fired up about, and he didn't hesitate. He said James. But I'm gonna pick another James. I really think James Paxton. Look, we know what the question is with him. It's been there since he was in high school. That's the ability to stay on the field. But I know how excited the pitching crew is for him. And I mean, the first 2 turns, the second one was cut short because of the rain in Scottsdale, but you really couldn't ask for much more.
Yeah.
So I think just, kind of given all the noise elsewhere, it's really quiet around James Paxton at this juncture, but I'm based on what I've heard from other people in camp, I'm really anxious to see what sort of groove he can find as a Dodger.
Is Big Maple, is that allowed on broadcasts? Are we allowed to use that?
I said it during the spring one. I definitely don't want to tire that out.
It's a great nickname. I don't know if you could wear that one out too badly.
It's phenomenal. It's unique, right? There hasn't been I can't recall another Big Maple in the game, right? So you've heard plenty of big game James. In LA there's only one, but you've heard that plenty. So yeah, Big Maple is great, but I'm trying to give you something different, and I think James Paxton is somebody I'm pumped for this year.
Okay, let's do a couple rapid fire, and I know you like talking food with us, so I have a couple of food questions for you here at the end. This one might be the least rapid fire, but from your perspective, how are the Dodgers going to handle 2 games, international travel, week off with exhibitions in the middle, and then domestic opening day? A new term we didn't know we needed in our lives, but that is now in our life.
Domestic opening. Yeah.
Do you think is that going to be overblown, or do you think that really is going to mess with some folks?
I don't think it's overblown. Everybody and every body is different in how they handle time change, jet lag, but it is a lot. It's a very funky start to the year, and we've seen it before, right? With these international openers, whether it be Australia. I know Tokyo's on the docket as well. as Major League Baseball tries to sort of enhance its international presence, which is smart. But it's the time change is real. Like the jet lag is real, and you can download the time shifter app and try to follow it to a T as best as you can, but you don't know how your body's going to react till you go through it. Now it's much easier going there. So the team leaves on Thursday, and I don't know what their exact itinerary is when they take off, when they land, but the general key, right? When anybody who's traveled will tell you, just hit the ground running. You want to do stuff and acclimate to where you're at. Coming back is the problem. That could take some time. And if these guys have young kids, which as we all experienced last year with the paternity-less Dodgers in 2023, they all have young kids.
Yeah.
And several of them, in fact, like that can prolong your readjustment to the home time as well. So it's just very weird. I was joking. I was like, because I'll be working the Freeway Series, spring training, the Cactus League finales, with EK, and I was like, this might be, forget OKC, it might be like Tulsa and Rancho. I don't know who's going to be playing in those games, right? So it's, we'll see about that. It sounds like Bruce Starr will probably pitch in those because he's not going, right. But I don't know. It's if you want to be a little like cautious with the preseason hype, if you want to like under expect so the team over delivers, right? Have a pessimistic view. You could say, gosh, it's set up for the Dodgers to start slow.
Yeah.
They got to go to another country and play 2 games that count, and then they got to come back and they got to readjust. And there's 3 games that don't count, and and then there's opening day here, and right out the gates they're playing a Cardinals team that's pissed off after last season, and a bunch of guys who are trying to bounce back and still really talented. And then you got some really tough road series, like you're going to Wrigley in Minnesota in April. Like, what is that about? You can convince yourself of all those things. Like, the Dodgers are going to start slow. So
come on, all fans are super rational. I'm sure they'll there's nobody will be in our comments saying any of those things.
But I will say this as somebody who grew up a fan that used pessimism as like a crutch to get through anxiety. Yeah. Like, if feel free to use that as well. So it's not nothing. I guess we won't see until we're looking with the benefit of hindsight how much of a thing it was.
Okay. Let me give you a couple duos of pitchers and just give me 30-second thoughts. Kershaw and Buehler. You buying the bounce back for these guys coming back and making a contribution?
Yes, for 2 different reasons. Like, and it was I'll start with Kershaw. It was the same reason why I think everybody expected him to come back, is that he was not going to go out that way.
Yeah.
Just as simple as that. For Walker, I know that there's so much like, oh wait, he hasn't done it. They pushed him back, and like, is something wrong? Did he have a setback? Wait, he was trying to come back last year, and all of a sudden he's not going to be ready for this thing. I personally love the approach that he and the organization are taking with him.
Yeah.
It was like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
You have to trust that these guys know their bodies better than anybody.
Yep.
And Walker in particular, just the way that he is wired, right? That dude loves to compete. So for him to like say, I'm not rushing back, like to delay his return as a competitor, that says a lot about where he's at. It's a mature approach, and saying, look, this team has long-term goals. I'm going to have a cap on me.
Yeah.
So why put that countdown clock up on the board earlier than we need to? Yeah. So I like the approach. I'm not a biomechanical expert. I've not looked at his medical chart, and even if I did, I wouldn't know how to decipher it. But I can certainly appreciate that outlook for him and use that to bet on a bounce back. Also, keep in mind what's at stake for him personally, right? So I think it's no secret what's looming for him next offseason and what could be out there. As someone who is just starting a family, like those are all human. That's all human stuff too. So
Yeah.
that plays into it. So, yeah, that's why I'd be buying. If you're
Okay, one
selling.
last name I'll throw at you. A guy who feel like has taken a jump this spring, and that's Gavin Stone. What was the buzz around him down in Arizona?
It's everybody's been talking about how the pitch tipping
Yeah.
identification from last year. To me, again, just trying to take like the more human view because I can't speak to the baseball stuff as somebody who didn't play it beyond Little League. Is I am, and I heard this from multiple people there as well. The fact that he got lit up and went through that, especially after last spring, right? When it was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like Gavin
Right.
Stone, like put him in the rotation now, you can't touch him. And for it to happen on his weapon
Yeah.
in particular, it's humbling, it's resetting, and it's reinvigorating for a talent like him. It's like, okay, like this is the big leagues, it's different. So I can come up through the system and just shove my way to the top of
Right.
prospect rankings and to the cusp of a big league roster. But once I get to that stage, okay, it ain't the same.
Yeah.
And so for him to go through that early in his career, I think will serve. That's what happened to Kershaw. That's what happened to Trout. That's what, like, people forget that, right? And how, Clayton Kershaw was on the cusp of being sent back down. Mike Trout was sent down, right? Like and it happened early. They took their lumps. Like that doesn't mean I'm not guaranteeing superstardom for Gavin
Right.
Stone, but I'm just saying that I think that's a huge benefit for him. The fact that it happened and it didn't cost the team. They still won the division by a bunch of games. Obviously, we don't need to get into the postseason, but like, had he struggled and it cost them the division or something, maybe that's something that
Yeah.
has a more toxic impact on a person. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons to look at Gavin Stone and what happened last year as a huge positive.
I love it. Okay, 3 food questions for you here. This is one that we got asked that I think is a pretty good one. French dip sandwich or a Philly cheesesteak?
I'll go Philly cheesesteak, specifically Citizens Bank Visitors Clubhouse.
Wow.
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It meets the hype.
All right. I like it. I like it. You walk into a donut store. What's your go-to donut shop?
Yeah, honestly, it's this is like maybe the most childish answer, but
Oh,
it's the most real. I just like the vanilla sprinkle.
I like it. No, it's a
I,
great
I
choice.
mean,
Are you a cake guy, like the cake donuts or the
yeah.
like raised donuts or whatever they call them?
Oh God.
Like they're kind of the smaller ones that are a little more dense or the ones that are like, you know,
Just the classic cake with
yeah,
frosting and sprinkles
I
on
like
it.
it.
That's. I mean, look, I don't discriminate donuts. I
Yeah.
will. I will eat them all. But
Yeah,
like going back to when I was a kid, I always just
I get
like
it.
that one. I like the crumb donuts. Man, it's just
It's great.
how
Okay.
can you hate?
Speaking of don't discriminate, last question. We've been having a little bit of a debate about ice cream on our show. And so I
Sure.
can't remember if I've asked you this before, but I'll ask kind of the same question. You walk into it, Baskin Robbins, take your pick. What's your kind of your go-to ice cream flavor?
So I think we have sort of dipped into these waters before. I may have responded with this before. If I have, I apologize. But you can't assume the same audience. So I'll
Yeah.
say it again. I love a good Reese's Blizzard
Okay.
from
That's great.
Dairy Queen. I just think, look, the Blizzard, it's a winning formula.
Yeah.
Whatever your candy of choice is, your mixer of choice.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not Reese's, maybe it's Butterfinger, maybe it's Snickers. That's fine.
Yeah.
You do you. You like
Yeah.
what you like. But I'm a Reese's Blizzard
I love it.
uh, fan. They have to sort of, you know,
Yeah.
exercise willpower driving past DQ.
Our specific debate, and I wasn't even involved in this, and I don't even have a strong opinion, but it was about pistachio ice cream and whether or not pistachio ice cream is
Yeah,
like a reasonable selection.
that's a no for me, dog.
Okay.
Again, like what you like.
Yeah.
More for you because I'm not going to take any.
I like
But
it.
that is,
Yeah.
I'm going ice cream. I want a certain flavor palette or
Yeah.
yeah. I
No,
don't know.
I get you. I'm with you. It would never be on my. It's like the times that I've ordered mint chip or something, and I've ended up with some sort of pistachio ice cream instead, and not haven't been super happy about it. But but we appreciate you weighing in on that.
Well, thank you. I know everybody was waiting on the edge of their seats to where I stood on pistachio ice cream. I'm out.
There you go. There you go. Hey everybody, that's Steven Nelson. Freeway Series. Next time we'll hear you.
Freeway Series is the next time. So I'm not on the charter to Korea, so I will not have to worry about jet lag. So I will just be getting ready for those games here in Southern California.
I love it. I love it. Well, Steven, thank you as always for your time. Best of luck this season, and we'll have to catch up once we get a little ways into this.
You're the man, Jeff. Always love it. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We appreciate you watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers.